If all humans are naked, would we be more horny or less horny, and why? I think it would be less. It's what's covered which leads to fantasizing. Not to mention, everyone is naked. That includes all of the people you don't want to see naked. That could certainly erase any sexual thoughts you're having. Half the people are below average looking. Less horny. My girlfriend walks around the apartment naked all the time and I've gotten used to it. It's no longer an instant boner. Yep, this. On the other hand, if she makes any kind of intentional hip wiggle at you, I bet it has an effect. Is all about what is tagged sexual in Z-brain in my experience. I got hired to play music at a nudist colony a few times. The first time I was a little nervous I might get a boner. Let me tell you, I found nothing sexual about the experience. I've compared it to seeing animals in a natural habitat in the zoo. Really changed my perspective. Good gig though. Friendly crowd. Good pay. Got to play butt-ass naked. And one time they had a water slide. Got to play butt-ass naked. Sounds like a fun, refreshing change of pace to any career. Not for a preschool teacher. Nude beaches are very unerotic. I doubt much would change. On one hand, someone's body wouldn't be interesting or a novelty anymore, and body fetishes would lose their appeal to a degree. On the other, when people want to bang, they typically want to bang, regardless of clothing or fetishes. More horny in the short term, due to the constant stimulation, but less horny over the long term because we would get used to it. Less so because you would be desensitized to certain aspects of modern sexuality. All I know is I'm not turning my back to anyone at a urinal. I'll be a stall guy from now on. Walks into public bathroom, sees a bunch of guys at the urinal, smacks each guy's bare ass. Nice. I met a woman who had done Peace Corps in Cameroon, and at least in her region, the Cameroonian women are topless all the time. She even said some of her Muslim friends would carefully put their headscarf on, making sure no hair showed, and then stroll out the door topless without a concern. The Cameroonian men did not find the bare breasts exciting. They'd seen them all day, every day, their entire lives. She told me the Cameroonian men even made fun of the Western men who would gawk at the topless women. Like, ooh, a boobie, quote, yeah, her boobs are nice, but what does her hair look like? Can you imagine? Pulling it, touching it? Well, HR's job just got a lot harder. HR something else also just got harder. And it was then that Amanda, the new busty young blonde receptionist, realized that her W-2s were correct all along and didn't need 5 trips to HR to fix the issue. It depends on how long people were naked at first, max horny, but over time it would be the norm. In general, more. Around grandma, less. You just made visiting Walmart even worse. Congratulations. Imagine seeing Karen's. I'm more worried about the smell when she bends over to snag a 24-pack of Diet Coke from the bottom shelf. Not sure, but I'm pretty sure sunglasses would become very important. Asterisk mirrored asterisk. Much less, I would think. Less mystery. Less ways of revealing parts of a body while concealing other parts. I would be just as horny as normal. Which is pretty damn horny. This post was made by the teenager gang. It would cause a lot more arguments when your girlfriend's attractive sister comes to dinner. Are you sure those wouldn't happen anyways? Oh, they would for sure. There would be an extra trigger, though. I was kidding. That's it, dinner's cancelled. Baby please. Probably less push-up bras or one example of artificial beauty. I think it would be just the same, if that's the status quo. Definitely less. Covering up makes our mind go crazy, leading to fantasizing and whatnot. On the other hand, if we're naked all day every day, we would most likely be desensitized to the idea. Women of San Antonio will give me PTSD. Definitely wouldn't be attracted anymore, I tell ya. People don't have horns, you dumb. As someone who frequents a nude beach, you just get used to it. Having said that, just like at a regular beach, The hotter people do tend to be more of a turn-on. That's just human nature. Any tips to how to hide getting turned on? If we were naked all the time, random boners would just be acceptable. I'd be vomiting diarrhea, less horny. Because you would probably get bored quickly and be. Imagine seeing your grandparents like that. You probably would lose your boner faster than anything. I've been to several large-scale nudist events. With the crowd being normally not nudist, had no problem being unhorny or accidentally getting a boner when just chilling. But hookups definitely happen more often. And I did get a boner when I found a chick that I hit it off with. It was a battle to subdue it. It's like there is a major barrier to banging that gets completely removed. Thus, it happens more easily. Naked group bonfire. Hot tub night was the one night a year I knew 100% that I would get laid. However, if it were permanent, I don't know. That tendency might die off. Not sure. Yeah, but it's a self-selecting population. Uptight prudes aren't going to go to a nudist place in the first place, so the people who do go are more likely to be relaxed and open with sexuality anyway. It might mean that people become desensitized. However, it would be more acceptable to frick in more public places. Could you imagine what a nightclub would end up like? Less. I had a friend in college who liked to throw naked parties for that exact purpose. Did boners happen? Occasionally. But it's kind of surprising how little you care once you're used to everyone being in the buff. Well, there way more people out there with unattractive bodies than there are with instant boner material bodies. Let's try it and find out. More horny. Because people would be inclined to take better care of their bodies, which increases libido. Less, cause then the magic is gone. I think sex would just become like purely to reproduce. Less horny. There would also never be anything that could be defined as secret crush. Less, because there would be nothing life to the imagination. No anticipation of what is under the clothes. Less for sure. It's desensitizing. I'm pretty sure that the people around me would be markedly less horny. Less. We would become desensitized to a naked body. Like a kid. When you can only have pop every now and then, you crave it more. But if they are allowed to have as many as they want, they have them less because it's not a special item anymore. Less. Have you really looked at some of us? Less, because we would be desensitized. Seeing them clothed would make me horny. Cold. I feel like more people would be in shape. Don't have clothes to hide that fat. For a while it would be mixed between more and less. More for certain people who just can't control themselves, and less for some who can. Or are just socially awkward or super nervous for this. I think at first people would be more horny, but after some time it would become normal. I'm gonna say more horny in the long term, but not for the reason you'd think. I think self-consciousness gets in the way of people feeling horny. If everyone was naked, it would kind of force people to be more okay with who and what they are. And that would lead to people being more naturally sexual. I guess the point I'm making is that having everyone else be naked wouldn't make you more horny. You'd get used to it. But having to be naked yourself would make you more horny in the long term, because it would force you to be less uptight. Less. We'd get used to it. For the first 6 months it would be rape fiesta. Then it would go back to normalcy. Less. Most of the time it will be far too cold to be horny. Probably less, as nobody would be wearing bras. More horny, because people would see my sexy body. There would be no survivors. Now, in the beginning of this, I think a majority of men would be horny, but over time the numbers would drop as these men would eventually get used to seeing people naked, and then it would just be a regular societal norm and the horny rates would probably fall. Everyone says we'd get used to it. I'm definitely sure I wouldn't, but would be super into it. Less horny. People would be hairier to stay warm. Less. You'd get used to it, and TBH. Nothing is more tantalizing than when the nipple is almost ready to show itself and doesn't. I work in the where all humans are naked. trust me, you won't be horny. I've seen myself naked, so less horny. Seriously, 85% of people fall in the average range of the hotness spectrum, so seeing a 9 or 10 naked would be a rare thing. Humans are great adapters, so we'd probably get used to it. It would probably increase movie watching habits and porn would die a quick death. Concealed weapons charges would go down way more and also be getting it on more casually. Our society tells us that being naked is offensive. If we didn't grow up with this misconception, clothes would not matter. Quite horny because yes. Well, depends if it always was so, cause I would be stiff all the time if it just changed overnight. It would definitely be harder to hide a boner, that's for sure. In the beginning we would be more. But over time, normalizing nudity will make it less of a trigger for horniness. Less for sure. Less looking at all those old naked people. We already have the something we could draw a case study from in nudist colonies. Although these cater to a certain personality type, from what we could conclude, it seems everyone adapts fairly quickly to it. Less horny, or just normal. A few years ago I tried out some theater of cruelty acting workshops. And one of the things about talk workshops is that you often get naked. Voluntarily, of course. There are usually a lot of boners within the first half hour or so. But after an hour or so it feels surprisingly normal. When everyone around you is nude and there's no sexual acts or suggestiveness happening, it pretty quickly stops being erotic. After a while, putting your clothes back on is what feels weird. Less horny. Just like porn addiction can desensitize you to regular, mundane imperfections, variations, perfectly big and symmetrical tits, pink nipples and vaginas, 8-inch dicks, and vanilla sex in general. If everybody was walking around naked, then I guess sex would become more instinctive than social. As in, since you can see everybody's bodies, what else would attract you to mate with a person in particular? I think the same nothing will change. Even more normal and less taboo. It doesn't matter. Just don't directly bump into someone of the opposite gender. It depends. Less horny, I think. It would become normalized. Also, clothes can be quite flattering and can accentuate the good parts of someone's physique. If all the people are naked, we suppose that the shame feeling never exists, so then seeing all the people naked will be like see them with clothes, so less horny. Boom science. Bro, you are stoned, aren't you? Definitely less horny. I guess it would be less. It will normalize the situation if everyone does the same. Less clothes accentuate the body if you're the type that can pull it off. That means random boners appear now and you can't hide it. I don't think there would be a direct impact. Our sexuality would be initialized by indicators other than nudity. This means that the frequency of horniness, which is what I assume you mean by being more or less horny, as opposed to the intensity of horniness, would be dependent on the frequency of the sexual indicator. If our new set of sexual indicators popped up more frequently than our current set of sexual indicators, we would be more horny. It's all contextual. Nudity isn't some magic pattern that fits like a key into our brains to unlock horniness. Nudity is stimulating to us because we live in a society that sexualizes it. We also sexualize whispering in the ear and being called daddy. Does this question here make sense? If all humans called each other daddy, would we be more or less horny? I mean, I guess a bit, right? Because we're desexualizing one of our sexual indicators. Chances are in practice though, that if we didn't call each other daddy sexually, we'd call each other something else. So it would be a different people. And therefore most likely we would be slightly more or less horny in some way. But it's correlation, not causation. The Queen's speech, Donald Trump and daily press briefings. In many ways, less horny. But overall I don't think baseline libido is going to change. There's an old saying, a soldier is walking across a city that was recently bombed. He comes up to a young kid who died. He drops to his knees and cries out in anger, He covers her with a blanket and keeps moving. He comes across another dead kid, stops, and starts crying again before moving on until the next kid where he stops, shakes his head, and keeps moving. Pretty soon, there's so many dead kids that he just keeps walking, not even acknowledging the monsieur. Same thing would happen with public nudity. The first day would cause horrid whiplash, but a few days later you wouldn't even be bothered by a cock, pussy, or tits in the wild. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.